Welcome. Hello and welcome. Hi, everybody. We're back. It's July 11th. It's a Thursday, and I am, as always, so excited, so grateful to be here. How is everybody? We are over a third into our summer, probably, Jay, like 45 out of 100. Oh, it's closer to half. I don't know. I'm doing rough math, though, so don't hold me to that. Happy summer, everybody. I have had the most refreshing first 40 days of the summer, and I'm here to share them with you. But today is all about getting the most out of the summer. And because I've had such a full summer in such a short period of time, I was like, I'm going to take everything that I've gotten from this past few months, month and a half, and I'm going to share it with you. And so I'm releasing my summer in and out list. But before I do, let me introduce you to the show. Welcome to Billable-Hour Burnout. If you're looking for tactical, helpful advice that actually gives you the support to have the career of your dreams, you are in the right place. If you want to enjoy the career that you've spent decades building, you are in the right place. If you find yourself here today, it means you're looking to experience more balance, more ease, more peace, and you want to do it without having to quit your job or burn down your life. I'm Lauren Baptiste, your CPA turned life coach, and this is Billable-Hour Burnout. On the show, I share simple tactics, mindset strategies specifically catered to the modern accountant, attorney, and consultant. You ready? Episode 17 here. Let's do it. All right, everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a break. So I've taken almost a full month off from Billable-Hour Burnouts. I was in Italy this time last month. I had a beautiful yoga retreat in Tuscany, meeting some of the most beautiful people. It was just such an incredible experience. Warm, sunny Tuscan under the Tuscan sun days, cool, dreamy, breezy evenings. It was idyllic, truly. And then I took a flight. I hopped over to Barcelona and I went to the F1 Grand Prix with my husband and one of my good friends. And if anyone's seen Drive to Survive, I felt like I was on the set. We had really cool seats. We actually technically didn't have seats, but we had passes where we got to go into the paddock. We met some of the drivers. We met the media who were also interviewed on the show. We got to stand next to the pit lane. I have a picture with my feet on the pit lane. We walked the pit lane when they weren't in session. We got to see Formula One Academy drivers. That's the women's edition or version. They actually drive F4 cars for anyone who is curious, but it was really cool to see the women doing their thing and building up that sport, which is fairly new. And it's really cool to see some of the drivers that I've been watching on TV in preparation for this whole event live. And so that was really cool. I felt like I was on the set of a TV show. And so if you're curious, you can maybe go back to my stories. I'm not sure, but I will be posting reels and things where you'll get to see some of the behind the scenes, me behind the garages of many of these, uh, behind Mercedes garage, Red Bull's garage. Fun fact, did anyone know I used to work for Red Bull? You might not see that in my LinkedIn, but I did while I was in college. Save that story for another day. But I had the most beautiful trip. It was 2.5 weeks. And one of the best things I can say is that I was a product of my product. I limited how much I worked. I was focused on if I needed to work, when that was. As I mentioned before I went out of office, I had an event that I did that was amazing. It was for accountants. I was like, yes, I'm all in on doing this. So I did it. And I felt really good about it. And I also was connected to my law firm that I've been doing that 3-month program with, which only has a month left, which is wild. Time flies. So it was just a really beautiful holiday. I knew when I was logged in, and then the rest of the time I was fully disconnected. And so I had these long periods of time that I was fully unplugged and that I didn't feel the need to check my email. I didn't feel the need to, be on top of everything because I have a team that supports me. I knew my newsletters were scheduled to go out. My posts were going to go out. Everything was set ahead of time, so I could just be in the moment. And that truly is one of the best gifts I could really have given myself. I came back at the end of June and I was just excited to come back to work. I was excited to start serving my people and doing my thing. So while it was a lovely break off, I always love coming back. And here I am. All right, so let's start with the first and fabulous thing coming up. So besides the Billable-Hour Burnout coming back, that will be back to our weekly series. I am also promoting my virtual networking. This is my once a quarter event that brings women together all over the world where we have real, genuine, heartfelt conversations where we're talking about the challenges we're experiencing as women in our business, what we're looking for, whether we're in firms, big companies, or whether we're in more smaller companies or we're solo entrepreneurs or solo firms. Either is all fine and everybody is invited. So that's this Friday. So you want to make sure you save the date for this Friday. That's tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern. Let's get into it. I want to talk about my in and out list, but as always, I like to share a client success story. One of my clients, sweet Carmen, she's a CEO of bookkeeping business. She just graduated from my coaching program, Freedom. Her testimonial was so sweet. I took a couple pieces of it, but she said, I was on the verge of burnout, feeling like I was burning the candle at both ends and always working. All caps, always. My business and clients were working and controlling me, Matt, rather than me working my business. In our coaching sessions, I have learned how to take control of my schedule and set boundaries with my clients. I've been given tools to help me work through the aggressions or issues that come up rather than letting them take control of my emotions. Lauren was welcoming and non-judgmental from the very start. I knew she had been where I was and had a heart for helping me get out of the burnout mode. If you're thinking of working with Lauren, just do it. 3 exclamation points. You are worth the investment of time and money to better yourself and improve your business and life. Thank you, Carmen. So sweet. Have the best clients. And even when they graduate, well, I'm so sad to see them go. I'm always so happy to see what's possible for them. So Carmen is on to some bigger, better, amazing things because of the work that we did. And so I'm just excited to see what's next for her. So let's do it. We're talking about my ins. We're talking about my outs. If you've never seen this before, this was a fun trend that was happening on Instagram maybe a year or so ago. We talk about what's in and what's out. And I wanted to give you my summer edition. So I'm going to start just by reading my ins and my outs, and then I'm going to deep dive in each one. So what's in for me? Trips to the beach, time for me, European travel, using my PTO, meaningful connections, and intention. What's out? People pleasing my colleagues, saying yes to every summer barbecue, holding resentment, screen time after 10 o'clock, and overtime without the need for overworking. Okay, that's it. That is the short list, but I want to go deeper. We're going to tease all this out because first of all, your summer list might be different than mine, but I want you to think about what's your summer list? What would be really fun for you? What would feel really good for you for the summer? So, trips to the beach. Why is this valuable for me? Well, there's all the amazing benefits of being in the sand that they say we're always around our computers, which emit these EMFs. EMFs create stress in our body. By going to the beach, not only it's a place that the ground actually reabsorbs the EMFs. The sand is such a beautiful way to do that. So there's a natural way to do it. But what I really like about going to the beach, is it's a moment of calm. It's a sensory experience that I love and I know my clients love, where we get to be at the beach. So I get to see the beach, smell the beach, touch the beach. You can even almost taste the salt on your tongue as you breathe in the beach. All the senses, I'm missing one of them here, and I hear the beach and I hear the waves coming in. I love hearing the white noise of people talking or hanging out and being happy. So for me, going to the beach is one of those things I love doing. I live near Connecticut beaches, and those aren't quite the same as the Jersey Shore beaches that I grew up on, but they definitely They check the box when I need to. And I know some of you, maybe you have your own version of trips to the lake, trips to the river, trips to some water source. In the summer, when the sun is blaring and it's hot, we need a counterbalance. We want cool, we want wet, we want moist when the weather is dry and hot and intense. And so trips to me for the beach help pacify that aggravation that can show up in my body and in my mind. So it pacifies. So not only will you see beach trips to the beach, you'll see a lot of moments with me swimming because that's just, it's in for me. All right, time for me. This is so valuable because when I give myself time for me, I'm a better coach for each of my clients. When I do time for me, I can show up with fresher perspective. And this is when I really invite for you. I can't tell you how many times it's like before my client goes out of the office and after, she's like a different woman. There's this like reactive, going through the motions, feeling like I'm in a constant fire drill up until the moment she leaves for vacation. And then when she comes back, she's this grounded, chill, easy breezy person, even when work is still chaotic while you're out of office. Time for me, aka time for you, is critical. And what better time in the summer while the weather is nice and you can get outside and get some vitamin D? Time for you. Here's the thing, we don't have to make it an out of office thing. Time for you can be 15 minutes a day. I want you to think about time for you because the summer is this like very outward time, very social. We have a lot of things going on. We have very full calendars, but I want you to think about time to go in, time to really care for yourself. Can you find 15 minutes a day for you? That's my challenge. Okay, next one, European travel. Why not? I haven't been in Europe. First, let me take a step back. For anyone who knows me, knows I love to travel. And the pandemic was a tough time for a lot of things, but not traveling was one of those things. I feel like I grow when I travel. I satiate parts of me that I don't get when I'm here at home, and I just love travel. So the fact that European travel made my list, I'm very happy for. What are you doing this summer? It doesn't have to be an expensive trip, but what type of adventure can you give yourself this summer? I really want you to think of any travel that might serve you. Maybe it's a drive to the mountains or a drive to the beach or anything like that. I want you to be thinking, how can you go on an adventure more this summer? Be more childlike, have more fun. In the last episode, before I went away, I spoke to this idea of using your out of office time to your benefit. So if you haven't listened to that, this might be a good time to check in and think about it or, really make a plan for yourself, which leverages my next point, using my PTO. Now, as a business owner, PTO is an interesting thing. I'll I'll just leave that there. Anyone who knows who has their own business, paying yourself is interesting, right? And so, how do I use my PTO and not feel guilty about it? Or how do I make sure I use PTO? And while that's an entrepreneur thing, I know after working in corporate for a very long time, using your PTO can be hard. It almost feels easier to keep working, to sneak some work in when you have downtime, to catch up on emails or administrative stuff, or do those mid-year reviews when you have a PTO or a long weekend or a firm holiday. I want you to think about using your PTO as part of your leveling up strategy. 50% of the work I do when I work with clients is helping them be more effective, more efficient, get to where they want to go. The other 50% is teaching them how to downshift, how to chill, how to regulate the nervous system, how to slow down. So using your PTO is one of the tools that actually helps you be a better version of yourself. Millions and millions of PTO days go unused every year. I think it's like 75 million, if I remember correctly. I have a post that I wrote about it a long time ago, but it's like a lot of million days. That is to me a complete shame. Companies give you PTO because they know you need it. They don't give it to you as a luxury. They give it to you because it's a necessity. So I want you to be thinking of PTO as part of your level up strategy. All right, that's in. The next, meaningful connections. How many times are you going to events this summer and you're just around a lot of people, but it's not meaningful? A lot of summer networking, summer outings, corporate picnics, um, family barbecues, right? A lot of things where there's a lot going on where maybe you're around a lot of people, but how meaningful are those connections? For me, one of the biggest things is I love to really connect. I like to go there. I love to make quality time to the best that I can. I had a or a story in my Instagram the other day that says, "We have no time for anything, but if it's important enough, you'll make time for something." So think about who you want to connect with this summer. Is it some friends you haven't caught up in a long time? Is it family members that you want to spend time with? Is it with your kids or your spouse or your best friend? Be, which we'll see in the next one, intentional. Be thoughtful about who you want to connect with. And then everything else is pretty moot. It makes it easier when you know, I really want to spend my time with these people this summer. And then you go from there. And if you're at work and you're working with your team and you're going through getting ready for a 9:15 deadline or a 10:15 and your busy season's ramping up in full force, you can still be meaningful about the connections that you have. Who do you want to eat lunch with? What do you want to do in your downtime? Who can you get to know a little bit better while you're working? It can happen in the office and out of the office. And the last point on my summer ins list is intention. There's so many things that we do that feel like we're not connected. We're not intentional. We're just doing it because everyone else does it that way, because that's what's expected of us, because I have no time to think. This is where sometimes going through the motions, going through the routine doesn't serve us. So for me this summer, I'm being really intentional. How do I want to spend my afternoons? How many hours do I want to work? How do I want to spend my time on the weekends? I'm being intentional. What words do I want to say? How do I want to be? Now, that can feel like a lot for someone who's experiencing burnout, but I want you to think about it as strategic or decided. When I talk to women that are feeling stuck, it's like there's not a lot of intention often because it's like, well, I'm not really sure where to go. I'm not moving forward. I'm not moving backward. And so I'm just here. And this idea of like just here makes it feel like then you don't have control. We'll go into this in another episode, but we have control only of a few things: what we say, what we think, and what we think, what we feel, and how we act. So what we say, I guess, is part of how we act. But if you're thinking of those are the only things I have control over, I can be intentional with those things, and then everything else I can let go of. And so for me, intention is in. Okay, that's my in list. Trips to the beach, time for me, European travel, using my PTO, meaningful conversations, and intention. Now let's talk about what's out, the things that aren't serving. People pleasing, colleagues, people pleasing, people at home, people pleasing, period. People pleasing shows up in so many sneaky ways. And I want you to think about people pleasing, not necessarily as I want to please somebody, but people pleasing is the act of doing something for someone else at your expense. I used this analogy the other day when I was working with a law firm, this idea of like making a cake for someone's 10-year anniversary. It's one thing if I love to make cakes and I'm like, I'm going to make a cake for Ron's 10-year anniversary because I want to do it and it's going to please Ron. He loves my vanilla funfetti cake. Great. It's another thing if somebody's like, we need a cake for Ron. Can you make it? And you're like, I don't really, maybe you're like, I don't really want to make it, but you know he loves the cake, he loves the funfetti, but you have a lot going on this week. And you're just say, okay, so you take on the task, but it's at the expense of you enjoying your Wednesday night at home with your family. Instead, you're baking a cake that you didn't want to bake, that you have to pump the air conditioner on because your oven's been on for hours, right? I want you to think about how people pleasing can be at the expense of you. And that's one example, but people pleasing can show up in really subtle ways. Like, Agreeing to sit with a meeting, agreeing to have a meeting with someone at the end of the day when you're trying to leave. People pleasing can be agreeing to someone and something that you don't agree to. People pleasing can show up in so many ways. It can show up as even apologizing. Do you ever notice? I used to go, I'm not on the subway so much anymore, but when I get on the subway in New York City, instead of saying the word excuse me, I would say sorry. And so there's a lot of apologizing when we feel like we're people pleasing. And so I want to get rid of that for me, for you, for everybody, because people pleasing is getting in the way of our well-being. It creates stress, it creates overwhelm, and it just doesn't feel good. So people pleasing, it's out. The next thing that's out is saying yes to every summer barbecue. I know you want to say yes to every summer barbecue. I know I want to, but I can't, right? And actually, let me go further. I'm choosing not to. I'm being methodical about where I want to spend my time and where I don't. And what that means is saying no more so that I can say yes to me more, yes to relaxing more, yes to regulating my nervous system more. So the power of no is an amazing thing. I've done a couple lives in the past that was talking about um, the power of saying no, because when we learn to say no to others, we start to say yes to ourselves. And it's not a selfish thing. It's actually so that we can be in greatest service. We're not in greatest service where we're spread thin and we're everywhere, but then we're in a bad mood while we're out. We're cranky. We say the wrong thing. We say something sarcastic. That's a lose-lose. So instead of saying yes to everything, choose to say yes to the things that serve you. So is that happy hour going to work for you? Maybe not. Maybe you need to say no to it. And I get it. So that is out, saying yes to every summer outing. The next thing, holding resentment. I know I even coached clients this morning, right, where we're holding frustration, we're holding resentment because for so many reasons. Maybe we had a work situation and we did all of our parts right, and they come back to us and said, no, you never told me about this thing. But there was clear evidence. You've had phone calls that you've done it. You absolutely have met your bargain. You met your end of the bargain, but your client is upset. You can hold that resentment and be frustrated and angry and let that energy drain you all week, or you can let that go. We can use, when I work with my clients, we use a model so that we can be really aware of the thoughts, the feelings, and the actions that we have so that we can shift from angry, frustrated, resentful, and go from a place of more neutral, more hopeful, more almost just like at peace, right? Content. That was the word, content. So we can choose to have resentment this summer, or we can choose to let it go. So that is out. All right, two more. Screen time after 10. Are you guilty of looking at your phone in bed? Just checking one last thing. There are so many studies that talk about how screen time in bed affects the quality of our sleep. The blue light keeps us awake. Even the impressions of what we see come into our dreams in a more subtle way. So I want you to think about when you're enjoying this time, when you can be outside and enjoying the outside world, can you put your phone down more? For me, screen time after 10, done. That might mean done with work at a certain time, but that also means done with TV, done with Instagram scrolling. How many people are going to bed feeling anxious because there's always this game of compare and despair, seeing where someone else is traveling, that new bag that someone else has, that job that seems that they get paid a lot of money and they don't work at all and they're able to go to a fitness class at 10:30 in the morning. Let's let the screen go. Let's start to let some of these frustrations and angers go. Screen time after 10, out. All right, last one. Overtime without the need for overtime, right? Overtime without the need for overworking. Either way you slice it, it's the same. Let's get rid of the thought that we have to work nights and weekends to be successful. Now, it's one thing if we work nights and weekends, we're at peace with working nights and weekends, we don't have a problem with doing that. But what I often see is resentment comes up because we have this feeling that in order to be successful, it needs to be done a certain way. I need to sacrifice the things I want to do, the people I want to see, the way that I want to enjoy my summer at the cost of overtime, just because. One thing that I've been really mindful of is I like to go swimming, and I go generally around this like 4 or 5 o'clock time. It's the perfect time. Most of the kids are like gone. They're all like getting ready for dinner, and the pool is empty, but the sun is shining. It's like the most perfect time of the day to go to the pool. And so I like to go to the pool then. And what that means is I may have to work in the evening just a little bit to catch up on work. To me, that's not a problem because I took a nice, beautiful long break. I swam, I hung out with my husband, we had a nice dinner, and then I move on, right? And then I do my thing for an hour or two, and then I'm done. But I would rather do that than work until dinner and then not get to swim and then feel resentful that I didn't get to go. Now, not everybody has that same type of schedule, but I know flexibility exists for all of us. So I want you to be really thoughtful about where you need overtime and where you can let that go. This is the work I do with my clients. When we connect, we create our own in and out lists. You learn what's in for you, what you want to spend your time on, and we coach through getting rid of the things that you want out. It's not easy to end people pleasing or perfectionism or get rid of resentment, but through coaching, we work through the tools, we work through the ways that you start to feel better. What this results in is you have more time for you. You go to the beach more, less quarrels with your partner, able to use your PTO and not feel guilty about it, able to work throughout 3 times a week and make it happen consistently month over month over month. Having the ability to spend time with your loved ones and be present with them. The list can go on and on and on and on. My clients are killing it in every way. And so I'm always so excited to share because I want you to know what's possible for you. So that's the end of today's episode, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I want to remind you tomorrow is virtual networking for professional women. You can sign in from anywhere. If you're on a summer Friday heading to Maine for the weekend, you can log in the car and join from your phone. If you're hanging poolside, you can hang out from your tablet and join us in your bikini. Whatever is going to feel confident and casual and fun for you is the exact setting I want you to be in. This is not stuffy. This is not suits required. This is what, instead of even virtual networking can feel stuffy. This is a virtual networking party. Maybe that it's adding the word party, but it's true. It's an opportunity for some of maybe your new favorite best friends, your new favorite connections to come together and build authentic relationships, learn about one another's work, see how you can help each other because what they say, a rising tide raises all ships. Yeah, it does. So that is the end of today's episode. I really encourage you to join tomorrow's networking event. I hold it once per quarter. If you cannot join this quarter, you're going to have to wait till next quarter. It's going to be in October. It's so far away. If you can come during your lunch break, bring your food, come hang out, super casual. And if you're the type that you're like, I don't know how I feel about networking, just give it a shot. I promise you, it is not your typical networking event. This is an opportunity to get to know new people that you normally wouldn't get to meet. So I'll leave it there. We already have a beautiful group of over 40 women who are registered, so I hope you're one of them. We always get a big push for the last day, so I know that's happening too. So there'll probably be over 50 women registered, so I hope to see you as one of them. All right, everybody, we're coming to the top of the half hour. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked this episode of my summer in and out list, let me know in the comments. Find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you hang. I can't wait to hear what you are thinking about as it relates to your summer in and out list. Message me, put it in the comments, or DM me your summer in and out list, or hashtag replay to let me know you heard after being live. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to know more about me, Lauren Baptiste, my firm, Akiloa Wellness, or my one-on-one coaching program, Freedom, you can visit akiloawellness.com. That's ACHELOA, wellness, spelled out, .com. All right, everybody, it feels good to be back. I'll see you next week where we'll